Welcome, everybody. We're so glad you're here with us tonight. We are going to have an exciting call for you. I got to meet Dr. Sawyer just a couple of days ago with Tim Altvader, and I was so excited hearing his story, and he just got me even more fired up about sharing Veracell. So, Tim, I want to thank you for bringing Dr. Sawyer to us tonight and to the group. And I'm going to let you do the introductions because you know him so well. And and then I'm going to let you just interview him or talk with him, and we'll let you just take over from here. So thanks, Tim, for being with me tonight. And you're on mute, Tim, so you're going to have to unmute.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Wendy. I appreciate so much you putting these team huddles together because they all have value. And then once in a while, we have a very unique or special situation where there's even more value. And tonight, I think it's one of those nights. So I was very, very excited that you were able to connect with Dr. David Sawyer because I feel super blessed, not only about this Zoom tonight, as we have more people entering, but just in general, because imagine this. You know, we always talk about in our Facebook group and on team huddles like this, just the concept of your activity and staying active and continuing to market, get your message out there. You know, we've got people doing TikTok videos and different aspects of marketing, Facebook videos, and telling their story and sharing, you know, what they feel about Veracell or how it's helped them, so forth and so on. And about 20 some years ago, Wendy, imagine this. I get a call from an amazing, but just a very excited neuroscientist out of the blue. And somehow, because one of the associates that I had enrolled years and years ago continued his path of marketing, somehow Dr. David Sawyer or a family member purchased from this individual that I was working with at the time and landed on my team. And it was such an amazing call. And I remember talking with Dr. Sawyer about, what we were doing, Generation 1 type products. And he was so excited about who he was going to help and what he wanted the products for. But I had no idea really the caliber and the just how amazing this neuroscientist, this doctor is. And so long story short, he joined our team. And then he's one of the people that will, when you hear about something, some people dive in and they dive way in. And so Dr. Sawyer, for those of you that have not yet met Dr. David Sawyer, he is someone that has done the research on the research and without me intervening whatsoever, became amazing friends with Sam Castor. In fact, just a week ago, Dr. Sawyer was at a convention working with oncologists, called Sam, and he and Sam spent, I don't know, 40, 45 minutes together talking about the science and where this is going as we move forward. And he's just the type of person that will continue to do the research and continue to help people as this develops. And so I feel like we are all so blessed. And I didn't even know, joining Marketplace Global and working with Sam on Veracell, I didn't know that we'd have the opportunity to again work with Dr. David Sawyer. But frankly, when he heard about this next generation of what we have, and of course, he started reaching out to Sam and doing his own research, he is part of this team. And I'll tell you, not only is he a neuroscientist, and not only is he a PhD, and he has taught me so much about wellness and health and immune function, but he continues to do the research and he is committed to helping people. And so I'll tell you, Wendy, one of the most amazing things about Dr. David Sawyer is that I have called on him so many times and said, David, can you help me? So-and-so has a child that has just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And David will get on the phone, whether it impacts him or not, and explain about what they can do. And they can not only feel safe about using wellness products, but be encouraged and have some hope. And so I have seen him do this so many times over the past 20 plus years. I've always been inspired by him. He's become one of my best friends and inspiration. And I'll tell you what, I just feel so blessed that he landed with us on our team and knowing about this at this time, because I really truly believe he's going to help us move this forward in a huge way. And I think for everyone here listening tonight, not only will you benefit from listening to Dr. Sawyer, but he has also made himself available to help you with our endeavor and getting this to the right people at the right time. So Dr. David Sawyer, thank you for joining us tonight.
Tim, you're welcome. And Wendy, thanks for putting this together. And, after Tim's introduction like that, it's hard to stand up to that introduction. So, Tim, tone it down a little bit.
All right. All right. But David, you know what? Most people don't know your story and that you've already impacted the lives of thousands of people with this technology. Yet, when you first bumped into it, you had never heard of it before, just like so many of us. And being a health professional, I'm sure that was a little bit shocking, but you went down the path of not just, okay, let me look at this, but researching it. And then, I tell the story all the time. Most people, if they talk to a family member that wants to try the product, they'll send them some or they help them get some. You flew it to the individuals and made sure they knew what it was and how to use it. And that sort of shaped the beginning of your experience with what we have here. And I know you're super excited about this next generation. So if you will, maybe tell us your story about how you became involved and what happened for you, because I know that set you on a different path than what you were expecting.
Yeah, it totally did, Tim. I had been in the pharmaceutical industry. I finished my PhD and then I was a professor for 4 years or so. And I'd been in the pharma industry for about five or so after that. And my wife's mother at the time had come down ill. She was attacked by ticks. She had about 100 tick bites, and that turned on the trifecta of inflammatory autoimmune conditions, namely rheumatoid arthritis, Lyme's disease, and lupus all together. And her body began to shut down after a few months. And we're talking organ functions and things like that, kidneys, etc. And she was going downhill really fast at the age of 50-ish. And so my wife had found some supplement online and asked me about it, and I said I don't know anything about it, and I said yeah, go ahead, buy it for your mom. Well, about a month or so goes by, and my mom calls me,
Yeah.
and the notice was, son, I've got 2 months to live.
Mhm.
They found I went to the doctor because I felt bloated, and what they found was a tumor the size of a grapefruit, and the cancer was mesothelioma, untreatable. They took out the grapefruit. They drained 7 liters of fluid that the cancer causes, and they sewed her back up and sent her home to die because it was all over her internal organs, and there was nothing they could do. Although they did start her on the heaviest mixed chemotherapy that they had, and she called me. I'm her youngest of six and the only one to attend college, let alone finish a terminal degree. And I'm, quote, supposed to know everything about medicine. So she called me and she gave me that news with 2 months to live. And I turned around and asked my wife, I said, hey, honey, what's that stuff you got for your mom? That powder stuff. Does it work for cancer?
Wow.
And so that drew us to the distributor who lived in another state and who my wife had found online. And that drew us, he put us in touch with Dr. Muth, who's a oncologist at Sloan Kettering in New York City. And I spent about an hour on the phone with him. And that spurred about a 2 to 3 month dive into the literature, as Tim explained. And what I mean by that is 2 to 3 in the morning every night. I couldn't get enough. I had to see it all. I had to understand it. I had to know what it was and how it worked and what it did. And it didn't take me that long, though, to buy a bunch of stuff, order it for my mom. I flew out to Idaho. I dropped a stack of about 2 inches tall of data on this oncologist's desk. And I said, this is what we want to do for my mom. And his response was, she's going to die anyway. There's nothing we can do. Go ahead. So 3 months go by. She goes in for a checkup. The doctor's kind of like, you're still here and you have a full head of hair. What are you doing? And she said, well, I'm taking that powder stuff. My son told you about it, didn't he? Yeah, he said, keep taking it. 6 months goes by. She finishes her round of chemo and she goes back in for a checkup with still a full head of hair. Now the doctor's beside himself and he can't believe what's going on. He said, the cancer should have killed you. Yes or yes. The chemotherapy should have killed you, the amounts we were giving you. And there's no reason you have any hair on your head. And so the long story short there is they drew blood and they found that she was cancer free. That
Hold on, David.
situation.
Wendy reminded me that I should say a disclaimer. The individual results vary. Testimonials reflect the personal experience, like your experience, of the individual shown and not intended to represent or guarantee that anyone will achieve the same exact results. And so that is the disclaimer. I'll tell you.
We don't treat any disease. We let the body do what it's designed to do. And when it has what it needs, it responds and it does what it's supposed to do, Tim. That's
Yes.
the thing that changed my whole my paradigm of thinking, because I was in the drug space
Yeah.
and I was looking at what molecule can alter the body function to hopefully get what we want out of it without causing too many side effects. And
Right.
yet, this is
No.
a whole different scene of put back in the body what it's missing, what it needs, or give it more of what it needs so that it can get done what needs to be done.
Right, right. Now, I want to tell everyone that you mentioned Dr. Warren Muth at Sloan Kettering. His son, Aaron, came to my website about a year before you met the Muths. And he found out about what we were doing because we were marketing. Just like so many on this team, we want to get our message out there. That is so beneficial because if it wasn't for Aaron, I don't know if Dr. Muth would have gotten involved. And I don't know if you would have been able to call him and find out from him what he was doing. And now Dr. Muth has at this point has passed, but that legacy continues forward generations because you not only got involved with obviously generation one of our product concept, but you continued down that path and even became good friends with Sam Castor and even found out what Sam was doing post as Sam continued on his path and found out about the next generation. And then I know you were plugged in with Sam and continuing to have
I
communication.
took Sam on a ride along with me one day.
Yes.
He came into southern Missouri. I was living in Springfield. And I said, "Can you ride with me? I'll take a day off." I put him in my car and we drove around and he handed out canisters to, well, we were focused on asthma. So we went to all these asthma doctors and lung and pulmonologists. And
Yeah.
he said, "Look, put it in your worst patient for a month and call David back when you're done."
Right, right. And so, what's different about David, you guys, is he stayed in touch with Sam. And even David, you told me that you reached out to him, I don't know, about a year ago or so, because you had met some other doctors that still wanted to go down the wellness path and natural path. And then, thank gosh, I called you again and said, David, there's a new generation,
Right.
and you found out about this.
There's a
So,
neurosurgeon here in Vegas
yeah,
and he's running for Congress. And his whole platform is we need to have healthier kids in school. And he's looking for a product. And I said, "Dr. So and so, I've got what you need." And I put him in touch with Sam and Reg at the same time. And they had a
right.
little three-way call.
And then
So
not
Dr.
long
Reg
after, I
McDaniel.
called you and said, "Wait a minute, there's something new." And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful and I feel so blessed that you answered the call and you started to again do your deep dive into the research, conversations with Sam, and also, of course, just testing the product. And you're here with us. So how do you feel about where we are now and where we're moving forward?
Well, we're definitely a lot more further advanced than where we were when we started. That was 2005, 2006,
Yeah.
and what we have now as a third generation product is absolutely incredible comparatively. Tim, I'd love to share a little bit of science if we have time about
Yes,
what it is, what it does, and my
absolutely.
perspective on that. So
Absolutely. Thank you.
my whole perspective is I want something, clearly it's got to work, but I want a product that's going to touch as much of the body as possible, of the systems, of the organs, of the cells, as much as it can get, right? Water is a great product. It does that. We drink it every day. So when I see something like this glyconutrient matrix, it's like, wow, this is crazy. What does it do? There's three things we're looking for from this. We are getting cell to cell communication by the creation of these glycoproteins. It's the production of glycoproteins that create our cell to cell communication. We get immune system modulation, and we also get amazing gut health. Now, the base product here that we've talked about forever and ever is Ace Mannan. That's what was discovered by Reg McDaniel and Bill McAnally, and they brought it through Sam, they brought it to market. Amazing. Ace Mannan is typically found, it's the jelly of the aloe leaf, the inside of the aloe. We all know that. And typically it's basically about 95% mannose, but it's a polysaccharide form. So it's many of these mannoses stuck together in long chains.
Okay.
But they come in about three sizes typically: a short chain, a medium chain, and a long chain. So what do we get out of that? What do those do? The short chains give us the building blocks to create those glycoproteins. So you can have that glycoprotein synthesis. In other words, all the receptors on the cells are created correctly. The medium chains give us our immune system modulation. That's that macrophage and dendritic cell excitation and proliferation that says, hey, I can see what I need to do, and that turns on about 300 to 400%. And then those long chains, those really long chains, are the ones that go to the gut and are digested there to create that healthy gut milieu that we need. And we know about 70% of our immune system starts and is conducted right there in the gut cavity. So, very important component. The critical component, Tim, that I see where we are now that's so different than where we were is the ACE mannan itself. So what Veracell's done is they've taken ACE mannan. Sam brought us a new ACE mannan, and working with Dr. Rodriguez and some of these initial scientists who learned how to freeze dry it and preserve the molecule, the activity, and found how they could pull the different parts out to make sure we get long, medium, and short chain. What they've done is they've magnified through their new processing of the aloe vera. They've magnified in that ACE mannan the amount of the medium chain polysaccharide mannose that gives us the immune function.
Okay.
So the stuff that I was using with my mother essentially had 1.2% of those medium chains of the entire product. It now
1%.
has 1.2%. Now Veracell contains ACE mannan that has 15.1% medium chain immune modulating ACE mannan molecules. So if I just can't imagine where my
So
mother would
David,
be, where
so
so many people would be. It's just
right. So I'll tell you guys. So I had told David, just listening to Sam, that this was a more effective, like generation three of what we originally had, which he experienced such great results with family members. I would get calls at nighttime, middle of the night, early morning. David was doing research or talking to a scientist overseas and just want more data, and he was getting great results. So I had told David that this was more effective, and I may have said it could be as potentially more effective as even 4 times more. David calls me not long after talking with Sam about a week ago and said, Tim, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's far more effective than what we thought. And
it
that,
depends where
uh,
you. It's what you're looking at. Now the original had 4%.
mhm.
The advanced or the second generation had 1.2%. Has 1.2%. We now have a product with 15.1% of that medium chain, which is the one that drives the immune modulation, the macrophage activity. So we've got tons more. I mean, it's just amazing. Now, another thing that Veracell did, which was very smart, is they wanted to not just have the mannose from Ace Mannan. They wanted to complete the glyconutrient complex to have all 8 essential sugars: the xylose, the fucose, the N-acetylglucosamine, and the rest of the bunch. And what they've done is added 5 other components or 4 other components to bring those other sugars to bear. So the story we can tell is we do have all the components for proper glycoprotein synthesis. We can create all the receptors. Everybody talks and communicates correctly. We have 15 times more of the medium chain ACE mannan mannose molecules that stimulate or the modulation of our immune system. Now, let's get something straight, because I think, oh, build immune system, stimulate it. That's not the word. I need to erase that word. We're modulating it. When macrophages come alive, they don't just start attacking everything. They can shut off an immune response that's overactive, or they can build the immune response that's underactive. They're modulators. So having 15 times more than what I had growing up on, I like to say,
Mhm.
is amazing. And so bringing all the components together, we have a real amazing story to tell. And I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what happens when we put this new product and we start hearing more stories like this. Now, I will never, and Tim said this already, I will never tell you that you're going to get results. I can't guarantee, and nobody can. This is nutrition. This is giving the body back what God designed it to have in the first place. But I
Yeah.
can tell you this: when you do that and you put it in your mouth and let your body do its job, amazing things do happen. And
Yep.
you may not notice it in 2 or 3 weeks. It may take longer. Everybody's body is a little bit different. Children respond a lot faster with their greater, higher, faster metabolism than we do at 50 years old. So we got to take that into account. But
You know,
I never guarantee any results, but I do tell you that it will work. You just got to put it in your mouth.
understood, understood, and thank you for that. Your story is very personal in the concept of it was personal family members that you originally introduced Generation One to, and had some re amazing results. I always love to tell the story of what you did at that point because it's not like you just said to someone, "Here's the link. Go find out about this." You did something different because of who you are. And I want people to know this because that's how thorough you are. I know that when I first gave you a call about this, you heard my message and we talked, but then you immediately called Sam and you immediately started to go down the research path and contacting Dr. Santiago and really researching what is this compared to Generation One and further generations and new science. And so having come from such a personal experience of having impacted family members, can you share a little bit about what that did for you being a neuroscientist and working in the pharmaceutical industry, sort of steering you towards wellness? Because one of the things I wanted to share with folks is you're willing to help this team share that same message to people they love and care about.
Tim, it absolutely changed my thinking paradigm completely. I mean, would you go for a week without drinking water? Heavens no. Why would you ever not put this in your body? I don't
Mm,
care if you're healthy or not. I can tell you what happened to me with viral meningitis. I had it before I knew Manatech.
yeah.
I spent a week in the hospital on fluids because that's all they can do. It's a virus.
Mhm.
And then they said, we're going to send you home because you're healthy now. You're better now, but you're going to feel like a train wreck for another 4 weeks. And I did. Well, I got that again about a year or so after we were introduced, or maybe less than that. And I thought, well, let me see what this does. And I took about 4 to 5 times the normal amount the first day. I called my boss and I got diagnosed and I was in the ER and they're like, we need to admit you to the hospital. And I said, no, you're sending me home because I knew what I had at home and I
Yeah.
wanted to test it on me. So I went home and I called my boss. I said, I got viral meningitis. He goes, look, take a week off. You got sick leave, take it. It's a week. Well, I did. I took a week. And the third day I was out, I was down in bed for about 2 days. I was taking about 5 to 6 times the normal amount. And then the rest of that week I laid about 2,000 square feet of hardwood flooring in the house I was building
I
at the time.
remember. I remember. It was sort
And
of
so
outrageous, a
my
little bit
week,
outrageous. And by
my
the way, I
week,
did not tell you to take 5 times the amount. That was being a scientist. That was your decision.
here's the thing. There's no toxic level. The
Yeah.
original reason why it failed to become a drug when Bill McAnally submitted it to the FDA was they could not establish a toxic level. And
Yeah.
without an LD50 or a lethal dose where 50% of the animals die, without that LD50, that toxic level, there's no way to establish it as where the safety is.
Mhm.
We didn't have a safety issue, and that was the issue for the FDA. You see the difference here between
Yes.
pharma and what do I spend my life doing now? I educate physicians. I educate the chairs and the department chairs and directors of major institutions around the country. That's what
Major,
I do.
major. And
Well,
so
my
last
big
week, speak to that. Last week, you're at a convention, you're working with oncologists and all kinds of fascinating information. And all of a sudden, you decide to call Sam.
I'm sitting in these lectures, Tim, and these oncologists and neurosurgeons are going, well, gosh, if we could only catch this metastases earlier, we could probably have a lot more success. But we just can't see them enough when they come from the lung or the breast. Those are usually the metastases to the brain. And gosh, if we could just catch, and I'm like, wow. And I just got frustrated inside. So I texted you, and then I texted
Yes.
Sam, and Sam
Yes.
said, why don't we connect tomorrow? And I chatted with Sam for about 40 minutes, and he goes, look, there's the cancer researcher out of Mayo Clinic, Dr. Herty,
Yeah.
and why don't I connect you with her? You guys need to talk. And I said, Sam, if my frustration with him is if they only knew what we had, and I have to be careful what I can and can't talk about because it's my job for
Yeah.
now. And this for me, Veracell for me is I just want to help people. You put people in front of me, I'm going to talk to them. And if that brings in some side income, that's great. That's Tim's job to make that happen for me, and my job is to open my mouth. Um, but yeah, I was frustrated sitting in an oncology conference with the experts in the field of brain metastases, and they can't figure out the best way to take care of it. And I'm like, wow.
But you have. And so I think it's so amazing that we are blessed on this team with someone that is out there attempting to shift how, the medical industry is working with things. And at the same time, I know you're willing to help everyone on this team. And so,
Yeah.
I know you're a busy guy. And I didn't even originally know that we'd be able to get you on Zooms like this. But in addition to events like this, you're willing to help folks. And here's how I know that. I was introduced to a gentleman named Bert who lives, David, not far from where you grew up.
I know, Fresno. Yep.
Yeah,
He may
Fresno.
be on the call tonight. I think he's
I
trying to get on the
invited
call
Bert.
tonight.
I invited him. He may be here. And I said, David, can you please help me out? Because Bert's child was diagnosed with something, and in an instant, you jumped on the phone and made him feel so good and so confident that his child would be okay. And I think that's amazing. And I would like the team to know, as busy as you are and as much as you're doing, and in fact, your plans are to open up an entire center. I know you're working on that. Maybe you could share a little bit about that and why you're willing to help the team, make this impact and impact the people like you did with Bert.
Well, by and large, the bottom line is what comes around goes around, Tim. And we've got to bless people because we have something that they need.
Yep, we do. What do you
And when I spoke to one of the, I asked, I got brave and I spoke to one of the oncologists. I pulled her off. She was looking at metastases and different things. And she talked about small molecules as markers for the immune system. And so I walked up to her and I got really brave because I'm stepping out of my job jacket
Yeah.
and putting on the Veracell cap. And I said, it's true, isn't it, that all the cancer cells or the aberrant or disease cells all express mannose on their terminal glycoprotein on their cell surface. And she goes, I didn't know that. I said, yeah, I was looking at some data and I saw that. I said, it's interesting that if we could stimulate macrophage activity, they're attracted to that mannose receptor and they're going to go attack the cancer cell. They'll be able to see it. And she goes, that's very interesting information. And I kind of left it right there, left her thinking about how to turn on the immune system to something that's already there waiting to be lit up. Put Veracell in the body, light up the cancer cells, and then turn on the macrophages 300 to 400%. Let them go have fun and eat everything they can find.
Awesome. Yeah, most people don't
Anyways,
have that same exact opportunity to speak to someone, with that amount of knowledge. I'm glad that you do, but I'm not ever going to try to repeat exactly what you just said. So we'll always, refer to you and try to get David Sawyer on a call to share that information. But David, how exciting is it for you having, done the research on what we'll call Generation One and knowing firsthand because of your family, and it wasn't, I mean, obviously just the story of your mom, but it was so many family members I remember. How exciting is it to know that there's a new generation that's an improvement because science and knowledge improves over time, and you are connected to it this time at the very beginning, whereas last time you found out about it, what, 20 years after the first discoveries?
right, right. My nephew responded with Crohn's disease,
Yeah.
and I knew he had it for 4 years. He couldn't have a regular bowel movement. He's a 14-year-old kid, weighed about 98 pounds, and I'm like, and he was just like, he looked like he came from, World War II in the Jewish camps. And I was like, wow, what's going on? And I said, I don't know what this will do to you, but I'm going to send it to you. So I sent it to my sister, and I said, give him, double what it says on the canister. And she did. I sent her about 3 months worth of product. And she called me back in a month and said, Dave, can you send some more of that stuff? And I'm like, what do you mean? I sent you 3 months worth. And she goes, I know, but it was working so well for Spencer that I started taking it myself for my fibromyalgia. And I can just tell you, my aches and pains are going away. My fibro fog is gone. I've got energy. I can do stuff I haven't done in 5 years. Can you send some more out to us? And I said, I'll send you some more.
Yeah.
But next time, tell me you're stealing it from your son.
Right.
But amazing to give a 14-year-old kid the ability to sit on the toilet and have a bowel movement and digest some food for the first time in 4 years,
Right.
where
Now,
his
David,
medicine had done nothing.
you have to give a disclaimer. being a health professional, being a medical professional yourself.
I can't tell you it's going to treat, mitigate, or do anything to any disease. I can tell you this. It's going to let the body function as it's designed to function. And I can tell you that we're deficient in at least 6 of the 8 necessary glyconutrients. And when we put the ACE mannan back in, that's been, empowered, more concentrated with that medium chain polysaccharide to give us the immune boost or the immune modulation, we're going to see things happen. It'll let the body work as it's designed to work. It doesn't treat a disease, Tim. It lets the body function normally.
Two last things that I would love to have you share about. About a decade ago, I learned that you have even more skills than I originally knew as we got to know each other. And one of the things I learned is that you are extremely fluent in Spanish. And so I remember there was a company that was expanding into the new market of Mexico. And I think it's really timely that, Marketplace Global is now making Veracell and products available in Spanish-speaking countries, Mexico. And I know you have some plans in Mexico,
Yes.
but can you share with us even a sentence in Spanish about Veracell and what's going to happen? Because maybe for the first time, everyone on this team has access to someone that is not only, imagine this, you guys, a neuroscientist, a PhD, an expert in this because of their personal experience, but also can help us open up a new market, even if you don't know the language. But Dr. David Sawyer, you know the language.
Si quieren hablar en español, podamos hablar y llevar estos nutrientes, los gliconutrientes, a los países que hablan español. Y si ellos lo
Hablo
saben,
pues.
ellos conocen sábila, Tim. Ellos conocen sábila.
Yeah.
Sus mamás le han enseñado desde niño cómo usarlo. So they know aloe
Yeah.
vera. They call it sábila. They
Sabria.
know it, and they've been using it forever.
Mhm.
Now we've got this concentrated format that they can take in their drink or juice or whatever every morning and night, and it's powerful. And what we're doing in Mexico, what we're planning is I funded a project
Yes.
already in the Yucatan, and it's a wellness retreat. What I'm looking for is my second location that I'll run myself with a surgeon partner who's a plastic and regenerative medicine surgeon. And together, her and I are putting together the business to work in the Tijuana Rosarito area, which is going to be a medicinal regenerative medicine wellness retreat. You come in and have stem cells placed and nutritional backing, and you stay for a week, and you have there's a menu that you sign up to have, and you pay a package price, and then you go home after a week or two, and come back next year for the same. So that's what we're putting together. We just had funding placed for one in Yucatan, near Cancun, and we're looking for another one. That's the plans in Mexico. So when you have people that need it, they're going to get it when they come here. My wife is from Guatemala. She's a genetic
Yes.
nutritionist, and she treats patients. She's written a book on 520 pages on nutrition, and she's also runs a healthy bakery with
Yeah.
cookies, cakes, and bread that are healthy. And she started this because she wanted something healthy for her family. And then friends with cancer, she could feed them things that would give them nutrition and wholesome nutrition, not sugar and calories that are empty.
Yep. No, I get
Amazing.
it. I got to tell you guys, Dr. Sawyer, this is as subdued as you'll ever meet Dr. Sawyer. When he sits down with someone, he is so passionate about what he knows and what this can do for someone. I sometimes, if I'm on a call with Dr. Sawyer, sometimes I forget to even speak because I'm listening so intently because he has so much passion to help people. And Dr. Sawyer, I'm going to tell everyone, you recently got married, so
Right.
congratulations. And you're in the process of educating your new wife, who, is such an amazing, she has such an amazing, vast knowledge of wellness and health. And she's now discovering what you know. And I know you have big plans for that.
It's gonna be a fun ride. It's gonna be
Yes.
jump on and catch on and hold on tight because we're
Yeah.
gonna fly.
And recently you told her about the products and she was even able to experience some results herself.
You know what? She was getting a sniffly nose, and I was
Okay.
out of Boston at this conference, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, look, do you want to live with it like your son just did and gave it to you for like 3 or 4 or 5 days, or do you want it to be gone tomorrow? I said, okay, tonight you're taking 2 scoops of Veracell. In the morning, you're taking 2 more. At lunch, you're taking 2 more, and at dinner, you're going to take 2 more. And the next day, you'll be fine.
And
And I didn't even have to come home for her to say, "Oh my gosh."
Right?
Yeah.
I love it. Disclaimer.
We don't treat a disease. We give the body what it needs to function properly. And your body's not functioning properly if it's ill. If it's functioning properly, you don't have pain. And you know what her commitment to me was? She made me commit to her. You
Okay.
want to marry me? You're going to live till you're 95 and you're not going to take any medicine and you're not going to be in any pain. If you can do that, you can marry me. That was her
Okay.
commitment that I had to make.
And so thank gosh you found out about this at the exact right time to make sure you can have that
I
progression
could
and
do
that
that.
life, right?
Otherwise, I
So,
wouldn't be able to get married to this lady.
yes, and I don't blame her, by the way. So I'm glad that you picked up that call. I'm glad that you're so connected with Sam. And the last thing, David, before I would love to let people know how they can connect with you. Obviously, inside of our MPG Facebook group, they can reach you that way. Using Facebook if they have a question or something. But for all the people on this team. A lot of us, we came here because we're entrepreneurial. That's how I landed here, as you know. Some folks, in your story, someone was looking for something because of a health scenario. As an entrepreneur, if you could put that hat on for a minute, because I know you're both an entrepreneur and, just someone who is so educated when it comes to wellness and health and immune function and the pharmaceutical industry. But for someone landing on this team, that whether or not they have the background of generation one or two or whatever they know as their background, what's the possibility for them being on this team and being part of this at the very beginning? As you know, Veracell just came out to the public in April, so it's been available for 2 or 3 months. Based on what you saw with Generation One, what would you say to someone that they could achieve or they could impact people with this generation over the next few years, being part of Marketplace Global and part of this team, and having the ability to contact you and get some help if they need it?
Tim, if you offered me $1 and Wendy offered me $15, what am I going to take?
15.
Thank you. The power that this has versus what I had to work with in 2005 through 2013 or so is absolutely mind-blowingly different. So I would say the opportunity is absolutely incredible. I would talk to anybody and everybody that you can and say, just listen to this or read this. Get on one of these calls that are more science based. That's what I like. Sorry, I'm a little biased, but I
Yep.
want to I want to get on a call. I want to learn something and get off the call. And if I can learn how this works, what it does, and what it's supposed to do to help my body function correctly, that's what I need.
Yep.
I
I'll
talked
tell
to an old contact, that an old friend from one of the previous companies this afternoon, and I didn't know she was suffering, but she's has an issue she's working on, and I told her about the new formulation, and she goes, "How do I get it? Get it to me now."
Yep. So I
Okay,
want to tell you guys one thing that David Sawyer has taught me over years, and sometimes even corrected me, is he's told me, Tim, don't try to be a scientist because you're not. You're
I've
not a
never
scientist.
said that.
Yeah,
Never.
well, in other words, meaning, one thing you've taught us is that if you've got folks that need to know that type of information, get them on a call with you. Or
You don't
we,
have to be the scientist.
yes, that's the point.
I don't have to be the marketer and the builder. Tim's the builder and the marketer. Tim puts people in front of me, and like I said, set it up, and I'll come and knock it down.
That's my point. So if you guys have someone in need, what we know about this gentleman who I am so blessed he's in my life, and we are all blessed he's on the team, is if you have someone and you reach out to Dr. David. David, I saw you put your contact information even in the chat here, I believe.
That's my Instagram for
Instagram,
Dr.
okay.
Dave. Dr.
Okay.
Dave 2025.
And I know you're part of our MPG Facebook group, so someone
Yes.
could potentially reach you there as well. But what David has taught me for years is, listen, just put someone in front of me. I'll do that part, and you make sure they're set up correctly. And I think in our space, in our industry, in our path in the past, sometimes we tried to, become scientists or doctors. And I'll tell you something, being on calls with Dr. David Sawyer, I have realized many times over, I am not, but he is. And somehow we are so blessed that he's part of this team and he's willing to help. So, David, thank you so much for being on this call. I want to throw it back to Wendy Kramer. See, Wendy, if you have any other information you'd like David to share with the team. But how amazing is this, and how blessed are we that we get to work with such an amazing guy that I thank God for that he somehow landed with us.
Well, thank
Thank
you
you, Tim.
thank you so much, Dr. Sawyer. I am just thrilled with having you on our team, and especially your generosity to be willing to help us all, because there's always questions that you want to ask a doctor. And so thank you for even putting that your contact information there in the chat. We really appreciate that. And I knew that all of you would really love to hear his story. And I'll tell you a little bit of a sneak peek. Dr. Sawyer has also offered to come and do a Super Saturday event for
Oh,
here in the Phoenix area.
You bet.
So we don't have quite the date nailed down yet, but it'll be coming up this fall, so you can watch for that. But I'm super excited to have you do that with us. And we're going to there's so many people, you can tell it in Dr. Sawyer's voice. He's passionate about people seeing that there's solutions other than a bunch of drugs.
yeah.
And so we're going to help our whole country get a lot healthier with this new third generation technology. So,
Well, Wendy, I've never heard of anybody being statin deficient,
Right.
right? Or
Right.
or like any pain medication deficient.
right.
That's not how we're built.
Yeah.
So we just got
One
to
last
change our
thing.
mindset and expose this. The more people hear about it, the more they're going to be like, sure, I'll give it a try. It can't hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
One last thing, Wendy and
Yeah.
Dr. Sawyer. Dr. Sawyer, when is your book coming out? Because you just sent me the outline a couple weeks ago.
I'm hoping within a month.
Okay.
So I'm going to see how aggressive I can be with that.
Yes. So imagine that, you guys, a book where Dr. Sawyer shares not only his expertise, but his experience with this. And we want to make sure that that's available to everyone in the company. And Dr. Sawyer, thank you so much for believing in us, trusting, obviously, in this technology, and Sam, of course, and being part of this team and being willing to help.
You're more than welcome, Tim. It's been a pleasure.
And
Wendy,
I
thank you
wanted
so
to,
much.
one thing on next week is I see Dr. DeBrinket on the line too, and he's going to be sharing his testimony next week. And if Dr. Sawyer, if you can be back, I'd love to have an
You
interaction
bet.
with the two of you.
You bet. That'd be
All right.
fun.
Awesome. And thanks for being here, everybody. And thank you, Dr. Sawyer. We're
Thank you,
really
Dr. Sawyer.
looking forward to working with you. And God bless you all. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you,
Great
David.
call.